Hey everybody, Brian Von Vier here, checking in before we start the vid today. Hope everybody's doing alright, and that you guys and gals out there are staying hydrated and staying safe as best as you can. All the love to every single one of you. That being said, D&D players of r/MrRipper, have you ever made and played a character only to realize you didn't like or enjoy playing them? If so, who and why? Part 1. In my case, it wasn't as much I didn't like the character, it was the way I had made them. They were a gentleman and a good person amongst a chaotic dumb party. It was not fun to have to be the party face and the party dad. It was the first character I ever made for D&D 5th edition, a red draconic sorcerer named Piron. I made them very whiny about their backstory, and I kind of just grew to hate them, after I left that campaign group. Descent into Avernus. Made a bard with the faceless background who was in hiding after fleeing from his family of cutthroats. Problem is, I fell into the trap of making the backstory more interesting than the personality, and spent a good chunk of the campaign feeling like I was role-playing a cardboard cutout. Yes, Long. And he ended up becoming the big bad evil guy. I normally play lots of clerics and bards, so lots and lots of options. When I played as Long, my first ever fighter after playing for 5 years, I was very bored with my only two choices being, do I hit him with my sword, or do I hit him with my bow? Should've used a spear. Not saying fighter is bad, I understand why people love martial classes. It's just not my cup of tea. So, when given an ultimatum of, join me or die, from the first big bad evil guy, Long took the offer. This was in character, as Long was considered really powerful in his home country, but felt insignificant and weak compared to the people and creatures in the country the campaign took place in. And it was my personal way out of playing a character I wasn't having fun with, and onto better things. Yet another cleric. The DM messages me the next day and says he planned from the start that he would secretly turn anyone that chose join into the new big bad evil guy. So I still had partial control over him in the background, something that wasn't revealed to the rest of the party until the final boss battle with him in the final session of the campaign. My Oathbreaker Paladin wasn't entirely unenjoyable, but in a time-traveling campaign and a singular time period-focused backstory, making it difficult to keep entertained and invested early in the campaign. However, by the end of the campaign, due to multiple broken items allowing him to have what equated to plot armor, he became really complex with an Oathbreaker redemption storyline. In Final Fantasy D20, I made a blue mage. I love blue mages. High five, same here. They have my favorite gimmick, and since enemy spells usually end up really strong, are worth the trouble. Usually. Oddly enough, they were crazy strong in the tabletop. I needed a chance to learn some spells to really kick off, but that wasn't bothering me. My backstory was good too. Someone desperate to prove themselves after failing to form a pact with the spirit that their family, a long line of summoners, had been bonded to for centuries. For some reason, though, I was always bored. Combat didn't feel exciting, roleplay felt stale, and although I had a relative in the party, an idiot cousin who never understood what was happening, I felt some sort of disconnect from the game I couldn't explain. I've never had that happen before or since, and I can't explain why. But for some reason, playing that character was usually less fun than doing literally nothing at all. First character I ever tried to play was a drow wizard. We were playing Waterdeep Dragon Heist, and I almost died to a scarecrow that got a crit. I decided against wizards also due to the amount of spells at level 1 for my character ever, given I couldn't remember them all. So I chose a pre-made dragonborn draconic sorcerer named Greygil. A bit better, but these days I play a rogue arcane trickster. So I made a character that I thought would be super cool, a coked out naked half-elf named Kalwan. Problem is that Hexblade Warlock and Way of the Kensai, well, not a terrible combination if done right, just didn't really go with my mojo, baby. It felt way too combat heavy for me. I made a wizard because I love wizards. Plan was be abjuration, cast haste on self, use lots of buffs, and cleric multiclass, kind of like a red mage. Be frontliner and defensive wizard cause that sounds fun and I've never done it, plus rest of the party is ranged except the barbarian. Here's the sad part. The DM told me because I'm abjuration, this is 5th edition by the way, he's not letting me cast transmutation or illusion magic. But I get advantage on abjuration spells, what the f***? Ruins plans, but whatever. Recast character with more abjuration and evocation. IG? This can still go well. Other players have OP magic items, level 6 by the way, like a bow that lets the ranger attack 6 times per round, and he was wearing my old paladin's armor, which gave him a high AC, 20 plus dex, and plus 10 strength modifier. What the f***? He should have given it to the barbarian. All the barbarian has is a plus 3 greatsword with extra damage to giants. We haven't ever fought giants. Sorcerer has a rod that lets her cast 7th level fireball, which I think he buffed to 9th level fireball 5 times per day for no spell slots. Again, we're level 6 by the way. And the warlock has jack shit. So with all that going on, he gives me 2 magic items. Ring of Protection, okay, I like it. Went with the original goal. Now have high AC for a wizard cause cleric multiclass with armor and shield. And he also gives me a Staff of Power. I'm not complaining about that. It's strong and fun to use, but it's not anything near the other players and doesn't fit my goals. I realize I can do the most damage by casting Firebolt now, cause I can't cast Haste. This sucks. Now if I want to be nearly as strong as the others, I have to play back row. And on top of that, I'm the only healer and buffer. So that's my job. I heal, I buff, I occasionally cast Fireball, and it's weak compared to everyone else. I'm only good when healing or only buffing. That wasn't the plan and I'm upset to be in this situation, but I like the character story and I don't want him to be killed off yet. Well, I suggest talking to the DM, or maybe you can take your character to another campaign if this group isn't as cooperative or communicative as necessary. Made a character called Gobby the Goblin. He was a goblin bear totem barbarian who was 3 feet 6 inches tall and wielded a great axe twice his size. It was a level 18 one-shot, so his strength was maxed. The way he attacked was throwing his great axe and grabbing it at the last second. So he would essentially Sonic the Hedgehog spin dash into people. I loved Gobby, as I thought it was a fun and goofy idea. Plus, his personality was that he loved to fight and proved that he was the world's strongest goblin. The reason I stopped using him in one-shots is because a friend from Australia pointed out to me that the word gobby is slang for, well, let's just say licking the lollipop, if you know what I mean. After hearing that, it just felt so weird thinking about playing him knowing what his name means. I understand that one. This had happened not even a month ago. I was playing Caleb Daymorn, a human fighter. Trust me, I made him unique. Please no bully me for my race class choice. Who used his high wisdom and shillelagh to fight. I planned him to be an Echo Knight, so I flavored shillelagh as him using his quarterstaff with a weapon used by him in an alternate timeline, spectrally outlining it. He was also a goofy schizophrenic hobo with a tinfoil hat and all. He was mainly an excuse to be a bit more goofy with a dark undertone to his backstory. I think he was in his mid-40s. I made this character for a Curse of Strahd game my group was running, and he immediately became comic relief as he thought the duck bodyguard in a tavern was evil and got his butt handed to him by it. When the gang entered the mist and approached the infamous Death House is where I realized he didn't jive well with the other players' characters and the overall dark vibes of COS. When we entered, as I hadn't leaned into a goofy chaotic character much before, I found myself dragging out scenes heavily. I noticed my DM and fellow players had been trying to move on from scenes I had been hogging. I realized that if I were to play into this character, this wasn't the right setting to do it. So I had started to be more quiet. And I noticed the others perked up as they got the chance to really play detective. I played Caleb a bit more seriously when we had discovered the father's body and the note to his children, which I felt fit him. It was a really good character moment, yet it felt wrong for my original idea so early on. Still the first session. So when we ran into our second combat, the Spectre that was known to insta-kill low-leveled characters, I had told the DM I wanted Caleb to fail his con save, which he actually passed. As I was a DM taking a break and working on a new setting, I figured it would be a good chance to help our semi-new DM really nail the grim atmosphere. So as his energy was drained before the player's eyes, I had him grip at a locket around his neck before he died. They promptly took out the Spectre, they inspected the locket. Inside was an engraving detailing the names of Caleb's wife and daughter, as well as a note from his daughter dated nearly 20 years earlier. The note described that she hoped Caleb would find a cure to schizophrenia, not directly named due to medieval times not necessarily knowing what it was called, and that she and his wife would wait however long it took. I think I made a player shed a tear. When I asked why I wanted Caleb to die then, I just said I rolled bad the entire session and wasn't feeling the build. But I just wanted to play a character that didn't impede with their fun, so I made a cheese-loving kobold that wasn't as silly, and we continued on. I definitely plan on playing Caleb in the future, hopefully in a more lighthearted setting. Tavern Keeper Vaughn here, checking in after the vid. Make sure to subscribe if you already haven't, leave a like, and make sure to ring that bell so you can get notified when we post a new video or go live. And if you feel like helping us satisfy the algorithm demons, leave a comment down below. Be sure to follow us on Twitch and Twitter, as well as to join the subreddit r/MrRipper, where you can submit a story for us to read live or in a video just like this. And if you're interested in video games, memes, streams, and voice acting dreams, head on over to Brian Von V8, that's me, over on YouTube, and leave me some love too. As always, I try to end my stories on a positive, and I just wanted to say one thing that I've said 1,000 times before, and I'll say it again. Communication is key. There is never a problem with talking to your players, your fellow group mates, or your DM, and trying to make sure that you establish boundaries and proper lines of communication. Tell them what you like, tell them what you don't like, tell them what you expect and what you don't expect, and make sure that you let them know what flies and what doesn't fly, because you matter. And don't worry about making things awkward for the rest of the group or for the DM. That's the job of the DM, is to make sure that everyone's on the same playing field having fun. The DM is not the enemy of the players. They're meant to make the game fun. And if fun for them is something different than you, then hey, have a little chat about it or find a new group. But don't ever feel obligated to just hold it in or deal with it, because you are better than that, you're worth more than that, and you know it. And if you don't know it, hey, I just told you that you're worth more than that. All the love, everybody. Please stay safe out there, and we will see you next time. Bye for now.